I'm going to be posting a good amount of information about a topic really close to home that I haven't spoken about in a while. I'm going to post here first a couple of clips from videos I posted over 2 years ago because I need to refamiliarize you guys. But stay tuned because there's a lot of good information relating to this stuff coming.
My own part in this family story really begins almost 30 years ago, when I was still a young child. My mother's closest friend went missing, and for some reason she was certain something supernatural was behind it. She went to her mother, desperate for information involving such things, which she believed she could find in her grandfather's belongings. He had passed away over 7 years prior, but throughout his life had built a reputation as an expert in dealing with the paranormal. She even knew that he had possessed a trunk from his ancestors containing the tools of a hunter. Unfortunately, her mother refused, deeming the whole business much too dangerous. My mother, furious, feeling betrayed, cut her off. We never saw her again. It's clear from what I found here that she never stopped thinking of us. They've both passed away since then, my grandmother more recently, and she left me her home. Me and my 2 daughters crossed the country and moved in right away. Since moving in, we've encountered non-threatening entities that I believe to be the spirits of my family. A haunted doll passed down for over a century, and the trunk filled with the tools of my ancestors, as well as various writings on their lives.
Why did the Oldrey line of supernatural hunters stop with my great-grandfather, Leopold? In truth, it was never meant to. My great-uncle was meant to continue on. In digging through tightly guarded family secrets, I've uncovered more about the events that broke this chain, starting with multiple disappearances involving mermaids and incredibly dark cults. My great-uncle served in the Navy, in a unit tied to a secret government agency involved in the supernatural. A U.S. equivalent to the Sons of Man, though rather than old world hunters and vampire slayers. These men were intimidating government agents and wary brazen military officers. My great-uncle disappeared during research involving mermaids, leading his sister, my grandmother, to pull dramatically away from our legacy. This would come into play years later when my mother came to her desperate for help and answers. Her closest friend had disappeared after a short trip in the nearby forest, a location known for dark occult activity, said to house cultists and worse. She knew of her grandfather's work and wanted his belongings for answers, but her mother outright refused, claiming it far too dangerous. From what I've now learned, I believe she was right, and this tied to the darkest possible of groups. I'll be going into deeper detail over the coming days.
So I've been gone for a while. You guys surely noticed I've been on a hiatus, starting with the flu that just kind of took all my energy away. And then right when that got kind of over with for the most part, a lot of things changed on this app. Might not even be around for much longer. They're not really rewarding their creators as well as they used to. For that reason, myself and many others are going to be focusing on other places. Go ahead and drop in the comments. Let me know where you like to get your information from creators or your updates from creators in other places. I am all over the place. As a lot of you guys know, you can see in my link, I've got all kinds of pages. I will still be here. I do love this place. It's done a lot for me. This is where most of you met me, where you found me, where I have the biggest following. But, for many reasons, it's time to kind of maybe move on a little bit. So I'll be here, but I'll be more in other places. I will still be going live here a lot, though. So a lot of you like to come into my lives. I'll be doing that more often. I'm probably going to be going live tonight. So if you have any questions, you can ask them here. You can come into my live later, and we'll get into detail. I have some really good news, too. I'm going to be posting another video because I have been working with Full Moon Features Studio, one of my favorites going back to my early childhood. Kind of a B-horror movie studio, Puppet Master, Subspecies, Castle Freak, more modern stuff, like Ginger Dead Man and Evil Bong, all kinds of cool, some comedic, some schlocky, but always cool. You can check them out. I'll be giving more information about that soon, so see you then. So I have got some new leads in this whole investigation that hits the closest to home, about my great-grandfather, my grandmother, my mother, and her friend who disappeared under seemingly strange occult circumstances. This all ties into what ended the Oldrey line in their supernatural dealings. As you know, my mother cut off from my grandmother because of her friend who disappeared, and like I said, those strange occult circumstances, and she couldn't get any information. Before that, my great uncle, who was meant to continue on in the family work, was lost at sea, serving in what seems to be some kind of military government organization equivalent to the Sons of Man, dealing with supernatural phenomena. That caused a huge rift between my grandmother and my great grandfather, and then the rift between her and my mother just completely broke this chain of the family dealing in this kind of business. I could say that I am involved in a way, not as directly as them, obviously, but that's why it's not an unbroken chain. And I have been connected with a person, an ex university professor, who supposedly has some good information for me. I am going to be meeting and finding out about that. I've already gotten some of that information I'll be sharing on here and other places as well. But I will be doing an interview or something like that soon. I'm going to try to get it on video, at least a phone interview, hopefully in person. As I said previously, though, a lot of these updates will be coming in other places before here. So check me out. Let me know in the comments what you guys want to know about specifically. Maybe give me some questions, and tell me where you guys are going to be looking for this information. What social media do you guys like?
The clandestine government agency responsible for the study and combating of the supernatural all across the United States. Something of a real-world X-Files. An American equivalent to the Sons of Man Order, a sect of the Catholic Church that's hunted the supernatural for centuries all over Europe. Embedded within other government agencies and the military, this secretive group has been involved in numerous missing persons cases and virtually every major paranormal event and subject in the country's last 100 years, with a specific focus in dealing with numerous terrifying cults, satanic and otherwise. They've even had interactions with the vampire Alexandra. These agents are human, distinct from the reported Men in Black, which are much more likely a subspecies of changeling. This agency's history with the Oldrey family of hunters, once central to the Sons of Man Order, started with my great-grandfather Leopold, working with them surrounding mermaids and sea monsters off the coast of Florida. His son Alexander would join the agency after enlisting in the Navy. He would come to be lost at sea, with no explanation. The first major break leading to the end of the Oldrey family legacy, but it would not be the last. What would you like to know first? Real living mermaids, demon-worshipping cults, and the government agents that hunted them down. Leopold Oldrey would find himself embroiled in all of this and more shortly after immigrating to Florida. It took very little time for the Oldrey family legacy to be set upon by both American branches of the Sons of Man and the U.S.'s own supernatural government agency. This government agency held a specific focus on exploiting psychic activity, combating demonic cults, and creatures that hunted along the American shorelines. Differing somewhat from the Sons of Man in Europe, who focused on more traditional supernatural monsters. Leopold left Europe for the U.S. partially in hopes of leaving the life of a hunter behind, but work with American Sons of Man agents would lead him into contact with the U.S. paranormal authorities.
St. Augustine mermaids. Been an issue long enough that the Spanish had to deal with them. Maybe I need to reach out to Edgar again.
Edgar was a contact who had transferred from the Sons of Man to the American agency, an apparently common occurrence. Leopold had perhaps the greatest cache of knowledge on mermaids in the country, stretching to the distant past, with similar documentation on the monstrous fish men that terrorized the coast, once called sea monks. This passed down knowledge brought frequent requests, but also a sometimes bitter rivalry between Leopold and the Americans. Work against cultists would bring them together as well. These two worlds come together in the works of H.P. Lovecraft, who Leopold believed was a cultist himself. His mythos inspired by very real-world mythical monstrosities and the most ancient deities of the sea. Based on my information sources, this American government agency is highly active to this very day.
So I have made some mistakes. Obviously, I haven't been around really much lately. I'm sure my followers have noticed that.
I have to back off of certain subjects. That's that, unfortunately. There's things that I've been trying to push into lately, things that I've really been investigating and talking about on here that, unfortunately, I just have to let go. It really just comes down to the fact that I have been far too bold in what I am sharing on here with you guys sometimes. Some of these things I had avoided for a long time for good reason, and, trying to stay relevant, trying to please you guys, answer your questions. I've gone into subjects that are too dangerous, both in terms of the people that it attracts, people that were probably involved, and other things. An easy way to put it is I've kind of been slapped down on these things from multiple sides. I can't get too modern, too close to home in these things, too domestic in terms of the United States, people involved in that kind of stuff. I just have to back away. I'm sorry. I'm still going to be here. I'm still going to be talking about things, but certain things I've been trying to push into again more recently, I'm just going to have to abandon. It has led to a dramatic increase in things happening in the house as well. Nothing that I've captured on video yet, but I'm working on it.